Hello students, we will learn about the plant respiration. But before that, we should know about the respiration. So what is respiration? Respiration can be defined as a physico-chemical process that involves intake of oxygen by cells, oxidation and breaking down of C bonds of respiratory substrates of food, mainly glucose, but also sugars, organic acids, fats, and proteins, with the release of carbon dioxide, water, and energy, and storage of released energy in the form of chemical energy, that is adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Respiration involves two major events. Number one, intake of oxygen from atmosphere and release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And this is called simply breathing. That is a physical process. And number two, or second step of the respiration, oxidation of foodstuffs to release energy. And this is known as cellular respiration. The term respiration was first used by animal physiologists to describe the breathing movements of animals, but was subsequently extended to include the chemical reactions by which complex organic substances are broken down to release carbon dioxide. In, in plants, slightly different. Breathing, breathing, breathing performed gaseous exchange typical of animals is often masked by photosynthesis in the daytime. So now the question, do plants breathe? Exchange of gases? Like all living forms, plants also require oxygen for respiration and release carbon dioxide. But plants do not have any specialized organs. For gaseous exchange, they possess stomata in leaves and young green stems and lenticels in old woody stems. Now come to the cellular respiration. That means when respiration occurs inside the cell. So the process of oxidative breakdown of food materials within the cell to release energy and trap it in the form of ATP, that means adenosine triphosphate or chemical form of energy, is called cellular respiration. Now, types of respiration. Depending upon the oxidation of food in the presence or absence of oxygen, cellular respiration is of two types. One is called aerobic respiration and another is known as anaerobic respiration. First, aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria in the presence of oxygen in most plants and animals. Organisms carrying out aerobic respiration are called aerobes. Aerobic respiration has two main phases. First, anaerobic phase or glycolysis. It takes place in cytoplasm and one glucose molecule is to two molecules of pyruvic acid. And second step or the second which is phase, which is also called TCA cycle or Krebs cycle. TCA full form acid cycle was discovered by scientist Krebs, and the name is also given by this scientist. It's also known as Krebs cycle. It takes place in the presence of oxygen in mitochondria. Pyruvic acid formed during glycolysis is completely broken down to carbon dioxide and water. So here in glycolysis process, glucose is broken down to pyruvic acid, and that pyruvic acid which formed during glycolysis is completely broken down through this Krebs cycle. This is the chemical equation of this aerobic respiration. So in this aerobic respiration, there are two main phases. One is glycolysis and another is Krebs cycle. So glucose, through the process of glycolysis, it converts into pyruvic acid, and that pyruvic acid finally through the Krebs cycle, through the complete oxidation process, it turns into energy along with the end products which also form their carbon dioxide and water. And this is the overall chemical equation of aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration where oxygen is involved. So glucose is oxidized with the help of enzymes and forms 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 38 ATP molecules. That means 686 kilocalorie or 2870 kilojoule. So this is the brief summary of aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, it occurs in cytoplasm in the absence of oxygen. It results in incomplete oxidation of food, and it occurs in lower organisms like yeast, certain bacteria and fungi. They are called anaerobes because they are performing anaerobic respiration. In higher plants and animals, it occurs when oxygen is limiting. During anaerobic respiration, glucose is first broken down to two molecules of pyruvic acid by glycolysis. So glycolysis is a common process for both the aerobic respiration as well as for the anaerobic respiration, because now we are in the point anaerobic respiration, and here also glucose is broken down to pyruvic acid through glycolysis process. Further breakdown of this pyruvic acid differs in plants and animals. Okay, so here it is the chemical equation glucose. So as it is anaerobic respiration, so without the involvement of oxygen and with the help of enzymes, glucose convert into 2 pyruvic acid plus 2 carbon dioxide and 2 ATP molecules mainly released out through this process. That means 59 kilocalorie or 247 kilojoule. This is the overall equation of this anaerobic respiration. Now it differs in plants and animals. So in yeast, in one category, like in yeast, bacteria and other plants, pyruvic acid is broken down to ethanol or ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide is released. So as ethyl alcohol or ethanol is formed, this type of anaerobic respiration is also known as alcoholic fermentation. So here this is the equation: pyruvic acid C3H4O3, obviously with the help of enzymes, and there is no involvement of oxygen because it is totally under the anaerobic respiration process. Pyruvic acid converts into ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is the first category. The second category is that in anaerobic animals, pyruvic acid is broken down to lactic acid. So previously pyruvic acid was broken down into ethanol or ethyl alcohol. Now in case of anaerobic animals, pyruvic acid is broken down to lactic acid. and this is known as lactic acid fermentation because lactic acid is formed. That's why lactic acid fermentation. And the chemical equation is pyruvic acid. With the help of enzymes, it forms lactic acid. So this is about the summary of the plant respiration. Thank you, student.